Hello and welcome to Football Paradise. Are we live? I always do this. I don't know. I never trust that we're actually live, but we are going to be doing our predictions in this video, guys. We're going to be predicting as we look on with 1 week to go to the Zweite Liga beginning on Friday next week, Friday, the 1st of August. I'm very, very excited, as I'm sure you are too. We've still got about a month until the Bundesliga begins, but we will be doing our predictions for both. So firstly, how are we doing? We've got a few of you in the comments below. It's good to be back. I'll be honest, it's gone really quick. It's been a nice summer. I thought it was going to drag, but yeah, really, really, really excited to be back. And yeah, put it on screen right here. I'm just getting used to doing the live streams again. Let's take that banner away. We are live and we're going to be doing our predictions. I guess prognoser is the, let me remove that there. Prognoser is the German word for forecast, I believe. Predictions, essentially the same thing. So, as the banner said, get involved in the comments below. As I'm getting old now, I've got my glasses because, ladies and gents, on these pieces of paper, we've got, firstly, what should we do first? Should we do the Zweite Liga predictions first? I think we should. And then we'll finish on the Bundesliga predictions. But as I sit here in my Bochum tricot, I can't help but to feel a little bit nervous going into this season. But if you look at my predictions, those nerves are far away because I'm quite confident with my predictions. Anyway, hello. Hi. Let me just remove these graphics a moment. Again, I'm getting used to the live stream again. It's been a while. Hello, mate. Cheers from Finland. Hello, mate. Prognoser oder Vorhersage. Still can't speak much German. I do apologise. Skidstein. I was going to say the same. That the season has come around quickly. It has. If there is a benefit of being relegated as a Bochum fan, that's the fact that we have 3 weeks less to wait. So let's crack on with it, shall we? Enough talking. Let's crack on with the Zweite Bundesliga predictions. And I want each time I make my prediction, guys, I want you to get involved in the comments below. For example, we're going to get a nice graphic on screen. Where is it? Is that the one? I think that's the one. There we go. I was worried about giving it away. So, as you can see on screen right there, 18 places in the Zweite Liga. Of course, 18 places in the Bundesliga. We're going to go through from 18, 17, 16, all the way up to who we think is going to win the Zweite Liga 25-26. Now, you'll notice there's a yellow 16 and a yellow 3rd. Of course, that's because they go off into a playoff, promotion or relegation. So, starting off, I'm going to do my number 18 again. Play along with me. I think Archie, you might remember Archie, the other English guy, he might be in the comments as well. So, I think in 18th. No, that's the Bundesliga one. That's a good start. There we go. That's the Zweite Liga one. In 18th, I've got Eintracht Braunschweig. Now, I've got a piece of paper with some information as well, just to set the scene. For example, Eintracht Braunschweig, according to Transfermarkt, as of yesterday, have spent 750,000 euros in the transfer market. They've recuperated 2.5 million euros from transfers out, which gives them, I guess, puts them in a 1.75 million profit. Now, this is really weird because profit is normally a good thing. But when it comes to football, the fact that you're in profit isn't always a good thing because you want to be spending money and enhancing the team. Eintracht Braunschweig obviously finished 16th last year, came up against, who did they play in the relegation? I did watch it. They played a Dritte Liga team in the relegation playoff. I think they will struggle. Not a lot of money spent, 750,000. But what are you guys saying? Who's finishing 18th? Alversberg. Wow, that's a bold prediction. I know a lot of you are saying they are one-hit wonders. They had a great season last season. I believe they've lost their manager. Loads of loan players have gone back. But yeah, a lot of people are thinking Alversberg will fall all the way down to the bottom. I've not put that because next up, this did take a little bit of thought, because is Archie around to see if Archie's put anything in? Archie, low, no. I don't know. Yeah, Braunschweig lost their best striker. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so you guys seem to fairly agree with that one, but not off to a bad start. I know the last predictions were quite bad. So number 17, Dynamo Dresden. Now, this is a fan base I do not want to upset. They are a rowdy bunch from Ostdeutschland. And I felt like they might invest a little bit more than they have. Of course, they finished second in the Dritte Liga last year. They've got promoted, but they've only spent 250,000 euros only. It's obviously a lot of money, but in footballing terms, not a lot of money whatsoever. They've recuperated from incomings null euro, which puts them at a deficit of minus 250,000. For a newly promoted club, I feel like they should have invested more. Dynamo Dresden, much respect. They are a crazy bunch, well supported. Of course, a giant from East Germany. Really looking forward to going to the stadium and, of course, experiencing some of that crazy atmosphere. Maybe we'll be a little bit low-key on that one. The kit looks lovely, but no, 18th place for me. Who agrees with this? Am I chatting absolute rubbish? So as somebody said, Greuther Fürth climbs down. Well, if you did see my last lot of predictions at the end of last season, I did feel like Greuther Fürth would fall down. I think I had them at last place, should I say. But I'll get onto them in a moment as to why I've not put them. A lot of people are disagreeing with this, which is perfectly fine. If you think I'm chatting crap, let me know, because I most normally, I usually am. Dresden won't get relegated straight away. They'll come mid-table. That is what I predicted before. But I'm using transfer marks. I'm using the transfer activity. And most importantly, my gut instinct. But a lot of people are saying Dynamo will survive. Would like Dynamo to stay because they have great fans, but they will go down. By the way, this isn't who I want to go down and where I want these clubs to finish. There's no bias, maybe a little bit of bias with Bochum, but of course I want them to stay up because, as you know, I've got a great admiration for some of those fallen DDR clubs. But let's move on. Thanks for getting involved, guys, in the comments. I don't know if Archie said he was going to play along, but I cannot see Archie in the comments. So we'll leave Archie for the Bundesliga, I think. Moving on to 16th place, our friends. We have a Freundschaft with Poison, should I say, Munster. The pronunciations will get a little bit better as we continue, guys. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really, really tight. Again, if we look at their spending, according to Transfermarkt, so they've spent no euros. They've not spent anything, of course. That doesn't include free transfers, loans, and so on. But they've also not made any money either. They've completely not done anything. They had a great finish to the season. I think they beat Magdeburg. Was it 5-0 in Magdeburg? Nobody saw that one coming. And then we saw the game after. Great to see them survive. But I feel like, especially now that money is being put into their stadium upgrade, the Preußen Stadion, there's not going to be much money left for transfers. But I do hope our friends survive in that relegation playoff spot. How do you feel about that? So somebody's put my prediction for relegation: Braunschweig in 16th, Dresden 17th, 18 Munster. So you've gone similar. So we are fairly similar. Not bad so far. I'm glad you've got more faith in me because I think I might have been drunk on that last one. It wasn't the best predictions. Munster also a very good take, but I think they won't make it to 16th. Maybe the bias is coming in. Maybe because I have I do have a soft spot for Munster. Of course, this year's Zweite Bundesliga is going to be extremely tough. It's going to be close, isn't it? It's going to be really, really close. So if you're just joining the stream, guys, we are doing our Zweite Liga predictions at the moment. I've got mine on here. Get yours in the comments below. And we're going to move on to 15th. We just mentioned them. This club I was quite rude about this club, just because an Englishman who can barely speak English struggled with the name Greuther Fürth. Did I get it right? Hopefully I did. I've got a lot of respect for these guys. And again, when we go to these stadiums, as much as I'm biased, this season, we'll get onto it in a moment, we're really going to shed some spotlight on each of these clubs. We're going as an away fan, but there are going to be 3 videos made on each trip. So don't feel like this is going to be another complete Bochum fest. Of course, I'm going to dedicate my love to Bochum numerous times, but we're really going to shed some light on some of these clubs. So stay tuned for that one. How do you feel about this? Good pronunciation, was impeccable. Well, we're getting better. We are getting better. Loads of transfer do not automatically mean more quality. Are you a Munster fan? Are you referring to Munster? Archie's in the house. So Archie has gone for 16th. Greuther Fürth as well. Archie, what did you put for relegation, mate? Whilst we've got Archie there, he is at work in a supermarket. So we do need to bear with him. But let's just slightly go off topic. Let's get his logo up. Archie. Where is he? He's gone for 15th Munster. So we're up together, mate. Archie, well played, son. Archie will be joining us on the first game for Bochum in Darmstadt. But moving on from my good friend Archie, we are on to Nummer 14. We've got our enemy, I guess. They are a new rival for us, Bochumers. But again, it's a rival. We've got to show a little bit of respect because they did incredibly well last year, not only promoted as winners of the Dritte Liga, but we all know about Berlin, wir fahren nach Berlin. Of course, they got to the DFB Pokal final. And for that reason, I feel like Arminia Bielefeld do have a lot of momentum. If we look at their spending, they've spent 1.3 million euros, but they have received 2.5 million euros in transfers out, leaving them with a 1.2 million profit, I guess. Net profit, is that how I say it properly? So somebody's gone, Archie's gone for 14th Dresden. So you feel like Dresden will do quite well. Does that have anything to do with the fact that you want to watch Bochum Dresden home and away this year and you're worried about being beaten up? Because if they're going to pick on anyone, Archie, they will pick on us, English geeks in glasses, of course. Right, moving on, we are going to go on to 13th place. We mentioned them. This might come as a shock to you guys because they were fighting for promotion last year. They finished 5th, Magdeburg. And again, it's a club I've got a lot of respect for. But as a reminder, the season before, they were a lot further down the table. Not that that's a reflection what they did 2 years ago. But the fact, again, the same as Preußen Munster, they spent null and they've received null. No major transfer activity apart from a few free transfers or loans and so on. I do feel like FC Magdeburg completely capitulated. We just mentioned the 5-0 loss at home to Preußen Munster. I feel like just as good momentum with Bielefeld can continue, so can some bad momentum. I hope I'm wrong because I'm really looking forward to visiting Magdeburg. As I said, I do have a fascination with former DDR Oberliga clubs. Yeah, I think a lot of people would. A lot of people would put them higher. First straight garbage take. Hey, this is great. I want you to challenge my decisions. I really want you to challenge. But let's be honest, guys. Who'd have predicted Augsburg to finish 3rd last year? Let's be honest. It is really, really difficult to predict the Zweite Bundesliga. So when you're making your predictions, you have to throw some surprises out there because why haven't Augsburg been said yet? I know a lot of you are saying they're going to be on there. We're not far off. We're not far off. I can confirm as well, they are not winning this. Definitely not winning this. And I know that did really annoy people. So let's move on. Nummer 12. Oh, Scheiße, 04. Sorry, no, we're not gonna slag Schalke off because believe it or not, those Bochumers actually know that despite the rivalry, despite the fact that they're neighbours of ours, I've secretly got I don't have a soft spot for them. That's not the right way of saying it. But as you know, without FC Schalke 04, I would not be a Bochum fan. The story is, I went to the Valtins Arena for a stadium tour. I finished the stadium tour over a year ago on a Friday night. I looked at my phone. Are there any games nearby this Friday night? Oh, there's a club about 15 minutes away. Bochum. I've never heard of this club before in my life. Let's go and check it out. And that's where the love story began. So again, I can't hate Schalke because without them, I wouldn't be here on a live stream sat in a Bochum shirt. But with that said, I probably will get carried away in a few weeks' time because we are playing them on the 23rd, I believe. So that's enough of me rambling. Schalke 04, let's get on to their transfer activity. They've spent 650,000. They've got in 2.25 million, which leaves them with a 1.6 million profit. Now, again, relative to the size of the club, they are massive. And again, I'll give credit where credit's due. I do not feel like the United Kingdom, Great Britain, I don't feel like football fans here really appreciate how big a club Schalke is. Most people are quite ignorant to German football, hence why I've gone all in on it, because I believe in German football. But beyond Bayern and Dortmund, I do feel like people don't quite understand what a big club they are. And again, as a rival fan, I'm really looking forward to going to the Valtins Arena again. I've got to balance this from being too nice and not upsetting my friends. But let's move on from Schalke. I feel like the bad times are not over for Schalke, put it that way. An awful season last year. And I don't feel like they're going to be fighting relegation, but I don't feel like they're going to be safe either. In 11th place, we've got Karlsruhe, should I say, SC. We're going to play them, actually. Bochum are going to play them on the final game of the season away. So obviously we'll be there, and I look forward to visiting their stadium. I do feel like, despite finishing 8th last season, they are going to drop down a little bit. Again, it's going to be really close, like last season. They spent 500,000. They brought in 4 million, a 3.5 million profit. Karlsruhe, let's just check in with you guys. Do you agree with this so far? So Archie's got 12th place. Archie, are you just copying me, mate? He is copying me. Or maybe it's just great minds or simple minds think alike. So somebody else has got Bielefeld in 12th. Dresden and Magdeburg will have good seasons. Again, hopefully they do. Not at our expense, of course. But this isn't a reflection on what I think about the clubs. And let's just leave this on here. Why hasn't Alversburg been mentioned yet? Because you'll be glad to know, ladies and gents, that next up on the list is Alversburg in 10th. Now, again, I'm fighting the corner a little bit because I do feel like people have completely wrote them off. I know they've lost pretty much their whole squad, their manager and so on. But they're one of those clubs like Heidenheim with, that kind of nothing to lose mentality. It's a small club, not a massive fan base. They're just kind of there. And those clubs at the moment are making their way to the Bundesliga. They won't this season. I've got them mid-table in 10th. But I don't feel like they're going to be fighting relegation. I just have this feeling. I just could not put them any lower. And again, I know loads of people are going to disagree with this. And again, rightfully so. Let me put it out there. Let's I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a temporary break. And I've not got a figure, but I've got my VfL cup. And I've got me a Peroni drinking on a live stream. Ooh. Let's just sink a bit of Peroni, shall we? Probably should have got a German beer. Let's make a toast. Prost. So if Alversburg get relegated, I will do a forfeit. Get involved in the comments below because I don't think they're going to get relegated. I will do a forfeit. They're not going to get relegated. But moving on, let's just have a sip. Right. Nice big sip there. Who have we got next? In 9th place, we've got Darmstadt, of course. Cool. Whew. First beer of the day, just warming up. VfL Bochum play Darmstadt in our first game of the Zweite Liga season. The Bollenfolter, I'm struggling with the name of the Darmstadt stadium, but it's one I like the look of. My friend Sasha, who also has a YouTube channel, he's done a little video visiting. Oh my God, that beer's weighing heavy on me. Visiting the grounds, and it's one of those no frills, cheeky little stadiums, which I'm really looking forward to see. By the way, guys, before we crack on, actually, let's just change the media asset because you guys on Instagram voted in the poll. We also did a poll on YouTube. What's going to be the first game we watch this season? Some of you said they're not the best of options, but they're the only options because I had to choose games on the Friday night, next Friday coming up, which was either Würzburger Kickers, Gegen, who was it? DJK, Wilking, or the one we're going to be doing, SV Sandhausen, Gegen, FSV Frankfurt. Now we have a Frankfurt tricot over here, and we also have, oh, you can't see it, a Sandhausen shawl, a scarf. And weirdly, my friend is a Sandhausen, has a Sandhausen Dauerkarte membership, season ticket, but he also has a Bochum season ticket as well. So perfect guy to go and watch Sandhausen with. It's his local club, but he's also a Bochumer. I'm talking about you, Alex. I'm not sure if you're watching. So our very first game of the season will be in Sandhausen. But moving on, because in, what have we got next? In, is it 14th? No, we're beyond that, aren't we? We are in 9th. No, just done Darmstadt. 8th, Hanover. 6 und 90. Now, if we just snip back to Darmstadt quickly, just to give you the facts, they've spent 700,000, got 750,000 in. So Darmstadt are kind of breaking even. Hanover have spent 3.75 million, but they've brought in 6.5 million, leaving them with a 2.75 million profit. Now, a lot of people are predicting Hanover to finish a little bit higher than this. I know the bookies have been slowly bringing Hanover up. As a reminder, the bookmakers still have Hertha BSC in first place. They do feel like they're going to get promoted, which is rather ironic because Hertha finished 11th last season. But yeah, Hanover in 8th. How do you feel about these predictions so far? Love your spirit, Rye. I'm trying to be positive. That's not a good take with Hanover. They will be in the top 4. The problem is everyone says, oh, these will be in top 4. We can only fit so many in. If it's going to be like last season where there's merely 1, 2, 3 points in it when it gets to the top, it's going to be very, 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 very close. But again, I put Hanover a bit higher as well. Archie's got Kaiserslautern in 8th. Again, we've not brought Kaiserslautern into it yet. I will be surprised if anyone attends the Sandhausen versus RB Leipzig Pokal game. Yeah, I didn't even know Sandhausen had Leipzig. As a reminder, we're not watching that one. We will be in Berlin for BFC Dynamo gegen Bochum. Somebody else has got Nuremberg in 8th. Yeah, just a sip. So, let's just see how it goes. Anyway, thanks for tuning in so far, guys. Let's crack on. This is good fun. I'm really enjoying this. I'm just going to drink it out of the can now. Bear with me. So, moving on, we have got Holstein Kiel. Now, this is going to come as a bit of a surprise. I know it will with Archie because Archie has put them a lot higher. And I've got lots of friends from Kiel. Kiel's a club I've got loads of respect for. I feel like it's a beautiful place. I love the boats, the water. I really, really, really love Kiel as a place. And the fans I've remained friends with from when we visited there last year before we went all in on Bochum. So I'm really excited for the Kiel away game in October. And I will be staying with Kiel fans, staying at their house. So a real nice, really, hopefully it's going to be a nice atmosphere. What I love about Holstein Kiel is they always play the away team's anthem as well. So if you went last year, you'd have heard Herbert Grönemeyer, Bochum, playing in the Holstein Stadion. It's a shame we were battling for survival last year, and I think we we might be battling for promotion. But being brutally honest, this is why I've got Kiel so low. There's always a team who gets relegated from the Bundesliga that falls completely down the Zweite Liga. Well, drinking beer on a live stream probably isn't wise. There we go. Sorry about that. And let's be honest, it's either going to be Bochum or it's going to be Kiel to be that team. As a reminder, last year, Darmstadt finished 12th, and they were the team who finished bottom of the previous year's Bundesliga. So maybe if I was a Kiel fan, I'd have the two clubs reverse roles, but I'm not going to put my club in 7th. And I do not mean to offend any Kiel fans. So let's just check in to see if I have offended any Kiel fans. Hello from Frankfurt. Again, we're planning a game again in Frankfurt. So hopefully we manage to get tickets. If Bochum get promoted, will you get an away season ticket for the seat? Of course. Ja, natürlich. Of course. Very fortunate to have the Auswärtsdauerkarte. And as a reminder, guys, I just want to say, of course, I really appreciate everyone's support and interest in the videos from last season. But as a reminder, nothing is handed to me for free. I pay for all my tickets. People think I have like people at Bochum that help me with tickets. They're only fans who help. But of course, now with the away season ticket, I've bought half of it up front, and then we pay the other half of the season ticket midway through during the winter break. So it all comes out of the money generated from the channel. Nothing is handed to me for free. I just want to confirm that. And as a reminder, a lot of people ask for help for tickets. Now, the reason I say no is not to be rude. Again, as a reminder, there's Bochum fans who have struggled to get tickets, and they're fans who live locally. They've supported the club for 20 years or so. So it would be really wrong of me to help English people who just want to go as tourists to watch a Bochum game, because the last thing we want is the Bundesliga or the Zweite Liga to become like the Premier League. Even though I'm an overseas fan and we do go to other clubs we're not necessarily fans of, I try and show respect and show the club, put the club out there for those to see. But by no means do we want to make this a tourist club. So I just want to confirm that. It felt like it needed to be said. So sorry about that. But let's crack on because I'm enjoying this. Next up, oh, actually, no, whilst we're on Kiel, I want to explain why they are in 7th place. Of course, relegated second from bottom last year. They have spent 4.2 million in the transfer market. They've received 3.6 million, which puts them at a 600,000 euro loss. As a reminder, they have sold a centre-back to us, Bochum, Kleiner Beckel. I'm just going to call him Colin. That's his first name. They also have sold a centre-back to Schalke, I believe. Yeah, I don't really know what to make about this. Hopefully, Kiel fans can give us more information. I feel like Nila, my friend, a Kiel fan, he's upset that Colin has gone to Bochum. So maybe as well, maybe that does have a factor as to why I've got them a little bit lower. Yeah, cool. That's it. We do seem to be on the same page. Paderborn in 6th. Yes, as a reminder, Paderborn finished 4th last season. They've spent 250,000 euros, so not much money. They've received 8.5 million, though. A lot of that money came from losing a left midfielder, Aaron Zenter, to Wolfsburg, for 6 million. Of course, we got on to the Bundesliga clubs in a moment. But yeah, a bit of business there in a transfer market for Paderborn. But again, the gut instinct is there. They were a good team last year. At one point, it looked like they were going to win the Zweite Liga about halfway through. Were they top at Christmas during the winter break? I don't feel like they need to make a lot of changes. So that's why I've got them in 6th. But in 5th, I've got FC Nuremberg. Now, Nuremberg, again, we mentioned how people don't quite realise what a big club Schalke is here in England. Definitely, people sleep on FC Nuremberg. Of course, they have a Freundschaft with Schalke. But despite that, I'm really looking forward to our away game there mid-September, I believe. Now, FC Nuremberg, they finished 10th last season. They spent 2.1 million euros. They've received 5.5, which leaves them as in a 3.4 million profit. Huge club. One that I'd love to see in the Bundesliga. Again, not at our expense. But yeah, I feel like they're going to be up there, 5th. So in fifth place, somebody has got Magdeburg. What's their loaned goalkeeper? Is the future German goalkeeping? But yeah, good point, actually. Yeah. In reference to Paderborn, Archie, fifth. Paderborn. Some of the team spending is extremely low. I think there are League Two teams with bigger budgets. Again, this is something we do need to remind ourselves. It is a shock as an Englishman who's so used to high transfer fees. Again, we'll talk about some of those when we cover the Bundesliga clubs. Of course, we've seen Florian Wirtz and Frimpong go from Leverkusen to Liverpool. The numbers we're talking about are very low, but this is the playing field. This is the landscape in German second division. And just because the money's not there doesn't mean the league is any less exciting, in my opinion. Fourth place, guys, we mentioned them as being the bookmakers' favourites, the bookies' favourites. We've got Hertha BSC, Hertha Berlin, as they're known here in England. I think Bochum play them in March. Of course, the Olympiastadion is where they play. Again, I'd love to see them get promoted. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Hertha because the Olympiastadion was the first German stadion I visited as a teenager, and had a soft spot for Hertha ever since. But they did finish 11th last year, and I think the reason why bookies have them as favourites, they've sold some players. They've got a lot of money coming in. And let's just look at it. They spent only 1 million though. But they've received 14.3 million from transfers, leaving them 13.3 million in profit. Of course, one of their biggest transfers out was an attacking midfielder, Ibrahim Matza, to Leverkusen for 12 million. So again, I can't really get my head around them being favourites because although they've received the money, they've not necessarily spent big with that money. And I saw them play last year. I was there at the Olympiastadion when Preußen Münster beat them 2-1. I was there in the Preußen Stadion when Münster beat them again. Or did they draw? I think they beat. That was the game after the Magdeburg game, I think. So every time I watched Hertha, they were not very good at all. So it is hard for me to get on the hype when it comes to Hertha BSC. How do you guys feel about this? Hertha got Kratenmacher on loan. Yes. So maybe it's the loan players I'm bypassing. We can talk about the money in, money out. But when it comes to the Zweite Liga, let's be honest, the difference makers are usually loanees. That is a very good point. Lautern, Düsseldorf und VfL top three. I disagree with Lautern. So yes, if you've done the calculations, guys, I'm worried about the hate. There's going to be some hate incoming. And yes, I'm biased. Yes, I am biased. But I did not put us where I put us a few months ago. But obviously, I see what my club's doing. Just say you're a Kaiserslautern fan, you'll see what your club's doing more than what you'll see the other clubs doing. If you're a Schalke fan, the same. We see our own club's transfer activity more, don't we? So let's just move on. Let's get the Zweite Liga out the way because in third place I've got Fortuna Düsseldorf. Fortuna Düsseldorf. They're always up there, aren't they? Of course. A couple of years ago, finishing in third, coming up against us when that miracle happened. Fortuna have spent 3.3 million. They've received 5.5 million, so they're 2.2 million in the green in profit. I mean, this again is the problem. So they've sold Isaac Johannesson to FC Köln for 5.5 million. Now we'll get on to FC Köln and some of their transfers in a moment when we're doing the Bundesliga. But again, I saw Düsseldorf a couple of times last year and they were nothing special. This is the problem, that people say there's not so much of a gap between the Zweite Liga and the Bundesliga as there is in England between the Championship and the Premier League. I disagree. I feel like there's a massive gap between the Zweite Bundesliga and the main Bundesliga. As bad as Bochum were last year, some of the games I saw in the Zweite Liga, the teams were very, very unimpressive. And it's for that reason the last two are where they are. I will explain. I will go into more detail. I know the VfL, not VfB, because in second place, this was obvious. And you're going to say this is a fix, and it does look incredibly biased. I've got Kaiserslautern. A lot of people will disagree with this. I know a lot of people, even Kaiserslautern fans, are not fully behind the club in terms of their transfer activity. But if we look, they've only spent 2.5 million. They received 7.3 million, which leaves them 4.8 million in profit. They have sold, we've just mentioned FC Köln, who have been active in the transfer market. They've sold their centre forward, Ragnar Ake. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. They've sold him for 4.5 million. Now, Kaiserslautern, it's hard to explain. It is hard to explain. I had faith in them in the previous predictions, and I still have faith in them. I don't know why. It is a gift I have, I think, for predicting things. I did predict last year that Kiel and Bochum would be relegated, and they were. And I'm honestly feeling Kaiserslautern and Bochum, guys, because of course we're going to be celebrating soon, and of course we might be hearing this. Because it could only be. Guys, I'm behind our guys. I'm behind our boys. I was not before after the end of last season. The reason I am is we've kept hold of what I believe is one of the best goalkeepers in the Zweite Liga in Timo Horn. He was an unsung hero after the controversy of Dreves getting hit by the lighter in Berlin against Union Berlin. Timo Horn came in with no expectation. He made one mistake, but for me, he was solid in goal. He was great. We've lost Bernardo. Bernardo's gone to Hoffenheim. We've lost Baudu from on loan. De Witt, Oermann, who's gone to Leverkusen and back out on loan. Tom Kraus to possibly Mainz. We've only spent 300,000. We've got 2.7 million in. We're 2.4 in profit. These are numbers to not be proud of. But we've sold players with the average age of 27.7, and we've received players with an average age of 22.9. We've invested in youth. We mentioned Colin Kleiner Beckel from Holstein Kiel. We've got another Sissoko up front to replace Baudu. We've kept hold of the Fußball god, our captain for most of the season last year on the pitch in Philipp Hoffmann. We've got Holtmann back, an incredibly fast, reliable player. We've managed to keep hold of a lot more players than I was expecting. Sissoko in centre midfield is like a rock. He's the engine. And I really am confident with Bochum's squad going into... the comments are kicking off now because Bochum would be 4th or 5th. The bias on the top 6 is crazy. Again, not everyone's going to agree with this. Somebody's got Hanover in 1st. Somebody's got... And again, okay, this is the sole reason. Had we lost Dieter Hecking and some of those key players I mentioned, absolutely, we would have done what I believe Kiel might do and what Darmstadt did last year. We would have been the club to fall down to mid-table obscurity. But the fact that we've kept Dieter Hecking, as a reminder, when Dieter Hecking was manager of Wolfsburg, I think they finished 2nd under him one season. I might be wrong. He's a man. I feel like we've got the best manager in the league. I feel like we've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And again, I'm biased, but that's how I feel. So somebody's put Bochum in 1st. Kiel in 1st, Bochum 2nd, and 3rd, Düsseldorf. Then leben wir, you know. Hot take, Hertha will have a really uneventful season and just finish 8th or 9th. I do feel like the hype of Hertha is a little bit overstated. I'm going to be honest with you. 1st, Düsseldorf. 2nd, Bochum. 3rd, Paderborn. Relegation battle between Bochum and Union next year. Wow, that would be feisty. That would be feisty indeed. Good prediction. I hope Bochum win the league too. See you in Darmstadt. Absolutely. With Hecking, Bochum won't finish top 5. Matze, here we go, Matze. Okay, there's an Union fan in the comments who doesn't agree with me, but this is the beauty of football, guys. We all disagree. We all have different takes, and we're all incredibly biased about our club. So we're going to move on. Yeah, that 2015 Wolfsburg squad was class. I believe they won the DFB Pokal in 2015 as well, Wolfsburg. We got onto them in a moment. Kiel is possibly the best job long-term from all these teams. We'll find out. Can you do a prediction for Saarbrücken? We could do Dritte predictions, I guess. But let's move on. Okay, we're halfway through it because we are going to move on to the Bundesliga. Before we do that, guys, I am just going to remind those who have just tuned into the stream. And I want to talk about, actually, let's put the banner up because this season, as it says on the banner, let me take my glasses off. Let's have a 10-second break. So this season, as I said, even though we're going to be going to every single away VfL Bochum game, the channel isn't just going to be about this club. The channel is going to be about all German football, of course, because every time we go, we're going to be there for the first 4 weeks in a row. Then it'll probably average every other week. We're going to make 3 videos each time. The first video is going to be the sort of video we had last year, the typical drunken Bochum matchday vlog, the ones that obviously Bochum fans like. So we're going to keep what we were doing last year under the category of Auswärtsdays, a little bit of an English-German spin. Away days, Auswärtsdays is going to be the series for Bochumers. But of course, every time we visit that club, that stadium, that team, for example, the first week in Darmstadt, we're going to be doing another series called Roy Explores, where we focus solely on the home team, the history of the club, the stadium, maybe some of the area as well, the city and so on. So the home team gets a video each and every time as well. But there is going to be a third video, which is going to be kind of a utility video, a little bit more versatile, where you guys have your say. As I said, we did that poll, which is on screen right now. We're going to give you guys a lot more of the reins, and that's going to be called Flat Out Football, where we visit another game or an abandoned stadium, or we try and do something a little bit different, fast-paced, a little bit more edgy, not so routine, and something a little bit different for YouTube. So again, 3 different series. They're all going to have different style thumbnails. They're all going to have different style of editing, and they're all going to have a different feel, different music, and so on. Just to help just to give someone. Not everybody likes the Bochum vlogs. Not everybody likes the factual history, nostalgic type videos, which will be the Right Explores video. Some people like, the younger audience likes that more YouTubey type video, which will probably be the Flat Out Football video. So there we go, a different style of video. Let me know what you think of that. Again, you guys are in the driving seat. But yeah, let's move on. I'm glad you like that, I think. So we are going to move on to the Bundesliga. Now, before we begin to do the Bundesliga predictions, I want to know what you guys think, because me and Archie were talking about it earlier on the phone. It's similar to those fans of clubs who get promoted to the Premier League. We all hate on the Premier League, but we all want to be in the Premier League. Again, as a Bochum fan, I want to get promoted. I want to be back in the Bundesliga. But realistically, for entertainment, the Zweite Liga is probably more entertaining. Your club's going to get more wins and so on. So let me know what you think. If you support a club who is a bit of a yo-yo club, maybe, what do you prefer? The Bundesliga or the second Bundesliga? Anyway, yeah, have fun in Alversberg. There's not going to be much to do. So, for example, before we move on, that first game in Sandhausen, we're staying in Heidelberg, which is next door. So not only will we, there's going to be a lot going on. I'm not going to bore you with it. You sound like Alan Partridge spouting ideas for shows. Yes, it is going to be more TV show style. How do you want to go about your away days this season? Go there with a group of Bochumers or explore the place? Both. I know it's going to be a mission. Both. That's all I'm going to say. Hopefully it works out. We've got a plan. It's taken all summer to devise the plan. And before we move on as well, a lot of people have said, what's up with all these AI-generated thumbnails? Summer is just to play around with ideas. Those AI-generated thumbnails will probably be flat-out football thumbnails. Let's move on. Let's crack on with our Bundesliga predictions, guys, because where is it? Where's the graphic? I don't want to give away my predictions too early. Oh, bloody hell. Let's get my glasses back on. This is the problem when you get old. You need your readers. So, here we go. Bundesliga, same format, 18th place, 17th place, you're gone. You're automatically relegated. 16th place, you're in a relegation playoff. There's hope. Maybe not. But again, I don't know why I've got it in green, because first place, second place, third place, and fourth place will be in the Champions League. But let's crack on, because in 19th, I know that's the wrong one. In 18th, there we go. FC Heidenheim. Now, Heidenheim, I feel like were very lucky last year. Of course, they came up against Alversberg. It could have gone either way, let's be honest. And judging at their transfer activity, I don't feel like they're going to survive, because Heidenheim have spent/received no euros whatsoever. And if you look at their squad from last year, for me, it's not good enough to survive in the Bundesliga. Again, let me know if you disagree. Heidenheim are not good enough to survive in the Bundesliga. They had the Bayern München player, Paul Vanner, on loan last year. He's gone back to Bayern, but from Bayern, in his place, they've got Arion Ibrahimovic, another 19-year-old from FC Bayern, who I don't know a lot about. So if you guys know a lot about Ibrahimovic, a young Bayern player, let me know, because maybe he's going to be one for the future. So that's, yeah, a lot of people are saying this as well. Heidenheim will have trouble. And yeah, I do agree with you. They might do better this year without the yeah. Let's be honest as well. Heidenheim last year were playing European football, so we've got an agreement on this. Good take, good take. Yeah, Heidenheim, great take. I think the same. Problem is FC Köln and HSV are going up, this is the problem, and we'll get onto this in a moment, because the next one on the list in 17th, I'd actually predicted the opposite last time. I've gone back on myself, and I'll explain to you why. But before we get on to 17th, I'm going to do this differently, guys. Let's be honest. Who's going to win the Bundesliga? For me, last year, I predicted Bayern were going to win the Bundesliga. They did. But it was obviously fairly close. Let's be honest. Leverkusen have lost Florian Wirtz. They've lost Frimpong. They've lost Jonathan Tah to Bayern. They've lost a lot of their squad, and most importantly, they've lost their manager. For me, Leverkusen are going to struggle. I'm not going to say where I think Leverkusen will finish, but I'm just going to get out of the way now, because it's going to be boring. You all know who is going to win this Bundesliga. I'm going to get out of the way now. Bayern are going to win it. Bayern are going to absolutely walk away with this year's Bundesliga. And just as they won 11 years in a row before, I don't know who is going to stop them from doing another decade of destruction. I feel like it's a recipe for disaster for the Bundesliga, and it is the reason why so many people are ignorant to German football. It's purely down to the success of FC Bayern München. Do you disagree? Sadly, we'll be Bayern again. This is why I've gone this way, and I've done Bayern first, because we all know it's going to happen. Somebody's predicting BVB being the main challenger. We'll get on to who's going to finish second later on. I wish for St. Pauli to stay up. Bayern will win. Bayern is a superb take. Yeah, that's what I've got out of the way, guys. Let's be honest. Bayern are winning this. So get it out of the way now. It is 17th place. Technically now a friend of theirs. I've gone for FC St. Pauli. Now, again, St. Pauli, I guess, divide opinion a little bit political. We're not going to go down the political route. Let's not go down that route, right? It has nothing to do with that. It is purely down to transfer activity again. St. Pauli have spent 9.1 million euros. They've received 12.05 million euros. They're 2.95 million in the green. St. Pauli, they had a good season. I think a lot of people had predicted them to be in the relegation fight. I think I predicted St. Pauli to finish 16th, third from bottom, before the start of last season. They did a little bit better than what we thought. Now, previously I'd said, because of them becoming this brand almost, which again, in context, they still back up some of what they preach, and so on. Again, I don't want to take this down that road, but I felt like they might have invested a little bit more in the team. If you guys can let me know if I'm making a mistake here with really good loan signings or free transfers that I might have grazed over. Somebody's put here an okay take. Somebody else, Archie's got Heidenheim in 17th. Good shout. Somebody else has got FC Köln in 17th. Yeah, so I don't think there's anyone. Do you think the Club World Cup and Musiala injury? I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of the Club World Cup, and I know a lot of you won't either. Again, I don't want to go down a road like that, but even with the Club World Cup, Bayern is still winning this, in my opinion. But yeah, St. Pauli in 17th. 16th place, I've got FC Köln. Now, I was actually really tempted to put them higher on this list because I'm impressed by their spending. I feel like they've bought this. We mentioned when we covered the Zweite Liga some of their signings, especially when it comes to their attack. So it's nice to see. They spent 13.2 million euros, but they have received 12 million. So they are minus 1.2 million. So again, they have sold as much as they've bought, really. But yeah, I don't don't really know what else to say. Maybe that is a suitable position with that in mind. Do you agree with this 16th place? So some other people have put Augsburg, St. Pauli, Augsburg, HSV. So for me, there's like a cutoff point, and I'll mention it in a moment with who I feel will be in the relegation fight, the scrap, because it's all well and good putting 16th, 15th, 14th, but we need to kind of explain the points difference and who's in the relegation scrap, who's in the title race, who's fighting for the Champions League. So again, I do feel like it still will be close because in 15th, I've gone for Augsburg. Now, Augsburg, I did put up a poll, by the way, on Instagram not so long ago. Who is the most irrelevant Bundesliga club? Now, a lot of people put RB Leipzig, but I feel like that isn't irrelevant because you have a strong feeling of hate towards them. Irrelevant, a lot of people did put Augsburg. They're kind of there. And that's not to discredit how they've maintained a Bundesliga position. You've got to respect that. But how long can you go just being there? And as a reminder, they spent, though, 14.7 million, according to Transfermarkt. They've received 12.7 million. They're at a 2 million loss. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Augsburg fans probably won't be too disappointed with that so long as they survive. Somebody else has put 15th Augsburg. Somebody's put Mainz. Archie's put 15th Union. Somebody else put 15th Mainz. It's interesting you're mentioning Union and Mainz because we do seem to be on the same wavelength a lot more with the Bundesliga predictions than we were the Zweite Liga predictions because I have put Union in 14th. Now, yeah, they've spent 13.4 million. They've received 18 million. So they're 4.6 million in profit. But you've got to remember as well, Union are doing a massive extension to their stadium. Again, that's going to probably eat into a bit of their finance. I know that the fans, again, regardless of the rivalry of Bochum, you've got to respect the influence of the Union fans. I know we've got Matze in the comments. Yeah, fans behind, again, the renovation of the stadium. But yeah, I still feel like there's work to be done with Union. I do feel like they're going to be not flirting with relegation quite so much. I feel like it will mainly be 15th downwards, fighting for relegation, but Union are going to be there. Again, what do you guys think? Not bad so far. Somebody else has put 14th Union. Somebody else has put 14th Union. Somebody's put Hoffenheim. Augsburg lost a friendly against Essen today. I don't think we can... There's a really good comment I'm going to put on the screen in a moment. I don't think we can pay too much attention to friendlies. As a reminder, Bayer Leverkusen lost 5-0 to... What team was it? It was a Brazilian team, wasn't it? Their under-20 team. And we got on to Erik ten Hag in a moment and my thoughts as a former Manchester United fan. But I've got to laugh at this comment. I wonder if Sophie's mum is watching. I have spoke with Silke, Sophie's mum, earlier on. And just to confirm, Sophie and her mum will be at the second Bochum game, the first home game versus Alversberg at the Ruhrstadion. So we'll make sure to get their predictions. And yeah, a lot of people are fans of Sophie and her mum. Yeah, that was it. Leverkusen. Oh, they had under 18s. Okay, that's fair enough. It was Flamengo. Again, I'm not hating on Leverkusen. What I'm saying is we need to put things into perspective. I don't think we should pay too much attention to friendlies. And we mentioned Mainz 13th place, I've got Mainz. Of course, Mainz did fantastic last year for Mainz standards. It looked like they were going to qualify for the Champions League. They absolutely battered us when they relegated us. I don't even know what the score was. Was it 4-1 in the end? So respect to Mainz. But as a reminder, they were battling relegation the year before. And if we look at their spending, they've spent 10.7 million. They've received 24.1 million, which puts them 13.4 million in profit. They very much gone with the selling philosophy, which, I mean, is why I've put them in 13th, really. They've sold Jonathan Burkhardt to Eintracht Frankfurt for 21 million. We got onto Eintracht Frankfurt, of course. The big news, they've lost Ekitike. So I guess this forward for Mainz is going to be Ekitike's replacement. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, Mainz in 13th. So I'm just going to move your comment just to see the next one. So next up in 12th, I've gone Hamburg, HSV, which is, I think, despite being a massive club, Hamburg, I think a lot of Hamburg fans would be very happy with finishing 12th in their return season to the Bundesliga. Again, looking at their activity, they've only spent 7.9 million euros. They've received 6.85 million in transfers, which leaves them 1.1 in a loss. I don't think we can look too much into these transfers because, again, as we've said, the landscape is very different in Germany than it is in England, especially the Premier League, the Championship as well, now spend big. A lot of players who have massive influence in the German leagues often come as freebies or on loan. So looking at the incomings and the outgoings really doesn't reflect the full picture, which I know you guys will agree as well. So Hamburg in 12th, what do you guys think? I'd put HSV a little bit lower. Yeah, I get that. Archie's done Hoffenheim in 12th. Very optimistic. So not a lot of people. Hoffenheim above Mainz is crazy. I will get on to Hoffenheim in a moment. Bremen in 12th, Wolfsburg in 13th. I mean, we're not a million miles off, guys. I think we're a little bit closer in the Bundesliga than we would. So maybe a bit controversial, this one. Borussia Mönchengladbach. Oh, Beer's coming back up. They finished 10th last year. I've got them 11th this season. They spent 5.25 million, received 4.5 million. So they're a little bit in a loss. Again, we're not going to look too much into that. Gladbach, they're just... It's sad to see Gladbach where they are because a lot of people say the real Der Klassiker is Bayern against Gladbach, of course, fighting for Bundesliga titles in the 1970s. If you've been to Borussia Park, it's a great big stadium, well supported. And again, I guess as a neutral watching this year's Bundesliga, it would be great to see Gladbach a lot higher than they are. I just can't see it happening quite yet. I just feel like they are in mid-table mediocrity. But again, maybe I think you guys might disagree because I have got them below 10th place. Nobody really likes them. They've not got many fans. But my reason for Hoffenheim is, of course, they were down there last year. What did they finish? 15th? Yeah, 15th. They spent 17.75 million this year, but they have received 24.55 million, which puts them in a profit. But they do have Bernardo, our centre-back. And I'm obviously a big fan of Bernardo. Former Bochum player who, yes, but they have invested in their defence as well. One thing I noticed with Hoffenheim last year was they were scoring goals, but they were bleeding goals as well. Their defence was really, really rough. But if you go on Transfermarkt, they have invested in their defence. I mean, they've spent 1 million on an 18-year-old from Ingolstadt. I've not really followed Ingolstadt Dritte Liga, aren't they? I've not really followed his progress, this 18-year-old. What's his name? I don't have his name. They've got a young striker from Ingolstadt. I feel like Hoffenheim, unfortunately, will start making their way back up the table. Gladbach there is not controversial. They got a decent striker. Yeah, maybe it's not too far off. Hamburg will be a surprise package. Okay. Yes, going all right so far. I think we're fairly... Oh, what have I done here? Just move that comment. I think the beer is kicking in, guys. The beer is kicking in. So in 9th place, we've got Freiburg. They're the ultimate overachievers, aren't they? Nobody would class Freiburg as necessarily a big club, but they're a little bit like Brighton, I guess, in the Premier League. They spend well. They've only Oh no, I've got this wrong. They've spent actually a whopping 32.7 million this year in the transfer market. They've only received 6.2 million, so they are minus 26.5 million at a loss. So I guess they're capitalizing on last season. As a reminder, I forgot this. Freiburg finished 5th last season. So maybe they're trying to progress into those Champions League spots, and fair play to them. We have seen this go badly wrong, though, with Schalke and stuff. So hopefully it doesn't do the same for Freiburg in 9th. 8th place, I've got Werder Bremen in 8th. I'm not sure why. They spent 10 million. They've only received 500,000. I guess that's a good investment relative to the Bundesliga. How do you guys feel about this? Yeah. Cheers, John, by the way. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you're enjoying the show. Again, this is my slightly warped, beer-influenced predictions this evening. Yeah, 9th place. So, yeah, people have put Hoffenheim a lot higher as well. Not everyone is hating on Hoffenheim. Another beer to make sure it's kicking in. Should we just see the beer off, shall we, guys? Still a little bit left here. Right. Next up, we've got 7th place. Who's going to be a 7th place? This is going to come as a shock if you just start to tune in. But if you did hear my little rant, my little blurb about Bayer Leverkusen, I'm really not a fan of Erik ten Hag. I never was. Again, I hate saying former Manchester United fan because that sounds really bad, but it's kind of like a previous marriage now. When United first had ten Hag, despite the results, and even when Manchester United were doing well, I was never sold on him. I was never sold on his tactics. I was never sold on his transfers. I was never sold on the way he carries himself in the media, the way he talks to players and puts blame on players. I'm not a fan whatsoever of Erik ten Hag, and I feel like it's a massive downgrade going from Alonso to ten Hag. That in itself is bad enough, but the fact that you've lost your star man, Florian Wirtz, the fact that you've lost Frimpong. Now, Frimpong, in the Bundesliga, he was, as a right wing back, he was everywhere. I watched Leverkusen a few times, even when we drew with them 1-1. He would get so far in attack that he would essentially be, sometimes he'd be like a third striker. Frimpong will be a massive loss to Bayer Leverkusen. So much of their attack came down that right wing with Frimpong. So we can talk about Florian Wirtz. We can talk about, again, Jonathan Tah has gone to Bayern. They've lost some big names. They've spent 101.75 million. It sounds like a lot of money, but relative to the fact that they've received 190.5 million, which actually puts them in an 88.75 million profit. Now, I'm not going to go down the road of Bayer and avoiding 50+1 because I'm not hating on Leverkusen. I'm not going down that road whatsoever. But again, it does show that maybe these clubs are sometimes more interested in a profit than trying to really go for the Bundesliga title. And I feel like it will bite them in the ass. I feel like this is Manchester United all over again. And I'm interested to read the comments now because I know not everyone will agree, but knowing the chaos surrounding Manchester United, Ten Hag doing well at Leverkusen would be poetic. Let's put that into perspective. Yeah, everyone who's left Manchester United has done better. Stuttgart will qualify for the Champions League comfortably. Yeah, I would put Leverkusen 9th or something, mainly because of Ten Hag. We've got a few Stuttgart fans in the house again. I'm trying to get to Stuttgart versus St. Pauli on that Friday in about a month's time. So if anyone can help with Carter, it's one club, one stadium we've never experienced and one I've always admired from afar. Leverkusen will finish 13th and lose a lot of players in January. Let's not forget as well, a lot of people are new to the Bundesliga, myself included. Leverkusen, when Alonso was taking over Leverkusen, they were battling relegation in the Bundesliga. They're not always, title contenders. We need to put that into context as well. Yeah. Exactly. Right. We're going to move on. So I've got Bayer Leverkusen in 7th. So 6th place, guys. This is probably, again, controversial. And again, I know Archie I'm not sure if he's on the stream still. He agreed with me. I feel like the surprise package will be Wolfsburg. I feel like they've spent quite well. They spent 38.65 million. They've received 10 million, which puts them at minus 28.65 million. Now, there were spells last year where Wolfsburg, I'm going to say Wolfsburg, it's easy to say as an Englishman, looked really impressive. And I do feel like they will be the surprise package. I feel like they might be the Mainz of this season. Again, not everyone likes them because the VW association, and we're hearing how Volkswagen were making a lot of jobs, making a lot of people redundant. People are losing their jobs in the factories, and maybe the financial crisis with VW might influence Wolfsburg. But yeah, some people disagree. They do disappoint at times. Get 70 million from VW. Yeah, again, I'm not denying this at all. A lot of people feel like these clubs have an unfair advantage, and this all plays into my prediction. They have made some incredible signings. Again, I was going to get on to Vinny Souza. They spent big money for him. Yeah, and yeah. They do spend a lot of money every year. Yeah. Again, I guess we're saying the same thing. That's good. That's good. The missus are just coming home, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit. All right, babe. Almost done. Yeah. You're always on bloody live streaming. 5th place, guys. Stuttgart, VfB. We just mentioned them. It's a club I really, really want to experience this season. Again, as I said to you, with the 3 types of videos, we want to not just focus on Bochum, but we want to focus on all the leagues. Just because we've been relegated doesn't mean we're going to completely disregard the Bundesliga, the Dritte Liga, the Regional Liga, and so on. So Stuttgart, I feel like they've spent 18 million. They've received 8.65 million, minus 9.35 million. They did most of their selling last year. Of course, they lost Gerassi to Dortmund this time last year. I feel like the club is now settling down a little bit. And yeah, I'm confident. Some people are agreeing. Stuttgart in 5th. Archie's got Leverkusen in 5th. Did you hear about? No. Share some more. Where can I sign for 5th place? So some Stuttgart fans would be happy in 5th place. Yeah, it will be close. Now, again, I'm not saying by Leverkusen being 7th, Wolfsburg being 6th, and so on, that they're going to be miles away from those Champions League spots. Again, it could be really, really close. I'm not saying we need to take that into respect as well. Somebody asked to put Frankfurt 5th. I have got Frankfurt higher because in 4th place, I have got Eintracht Frankfurt. I guess a rival of Stuttgart. Again, a club I do admire. We had the privilege of experiencing Frankfurt Stadium last year in the game against Dortmund. Blew me away, the atmosphere with their ultras and so on. Lots of pyro. And if we get the opportunity to experience Frankfurt again, I know Archie was looking at the game versus Bayern. But yeah, whether that's possible, I don't know. But yeah, despite a little bit of controversy last year at the Ruhrstadion with the banner, Frankfurt. But we need to mention the big news, don't we? Of course, they've spent 31.6 million. They've received 103.7 million. There's 72.1 million in profit. Of course, a lot of that profit comes from the sale of Ekitike to Liverpool. Christ, good job we're not doing Premier League predictions because Liverpool have spent big this transfer window, especially in the Bundesliga. They've taken a lot of top talent from the Bundesliga. But just as when Marmoush left in January to Manchester City, it didn't derail Eintracht Frankfurt. And I feel like Ekitike leaving, of course, they've bought the guy from Mainz, haven't they? Jonathan Burkhardt. What's to say he doesn't step up and become the Ekitike? I don't feel like it's going to derail them, and I'm pretty confident Eintracht Frankfurt will maintain Champions League football. Some people are saying they will finish higher. My reasoning for not putting them higher, okay, is not a knock at Frankfurt. It's the fact that they're playing Champions League football, and we've seen what playing European football can do, high-level Champions League football can do to a club's domestic season. It can really influence where they finish. So that is the reason why I've got them 4th, not 3rd, 2nd. I wouldn't have put them 1st. We all know Bayern's going to win this. So moving on, we're almost there, guys. in third place to close the gap. But I still feel like they're so far away from Bayern. They've spent 57.25 million. They've received 77.1 million. They're 19.85 million in profit. But some of the players, Jude Bellingham's brother, is it Joby Bellingham? I mean, does lightning strike twice? Is he realistically going to turn into Jude? He's a great player, but he's been playing in the Championship. And I know Jude Bellingham came from Birmingham, but I don't know if lightning will strike twice, as an English phrase. I guess it makes sense to Germans. Hopefully I'm wrong. They have sold, of course, the other Englishman, Jamie Gittins, to Chelsea, I believe. For me, Gittins was one of their shining lights. He was one of their star players, despite some incredibly poor performances last year. I remember when we beat them 2-0 at the Ruhrstadion. There wasn't a lot to celebrate elsewhere on the pitch. So Jamie Gittins leaving, it's going to hinder them, I think. I know he was a bit of a super sub and he kind of wasn't always a guaranteed starter and so on. Well, I'm really interested to think what you guys think about that. What do you guys think about that? So somebody else has put Wolfsburg in third. Somebody's put Stuttgart in third. Yeah, I'm not denying Job's talent. Do you think he's going to be as good as Jude? I'm skeptical. Again, as an Englishman, I'd love him to be as good as Jude, of course. They should sign Sancho again. Job was a prestige transfer. What else be we doing in the transfer market? Like nothing. Yeah. I feel like they could have done more. I'll be honest with you. Job's class. I'm not saying he's not class. Somebody else has put third, Leverkusen. Okay, let's explain why we've got RB Leipzig in second, guys. I feel like a big factor, again, we've mentioned the European football. They finished 7th last year. They've got no European football. They're not playing Conference League. They're not playing Europa League. They're playing nothing. They spent 92 million. They've received only 7 million. They're minus 85 million. They spent big. Again, we know where the money comes from. We call them the cans. But that's not to say that we can't put them lower on the table just because we dislike them. We need to be honest. And again, what a poor state the Bundesliga is in if we're seeing a two-horse race between Bayern and RB Leipzig. But I don't feel like it will be a two-horse race. I feel like Bayern, this could be a season where they win the Bundesliga by 20 points, 10 points. It's really upsetting, actually, to see, as an advocate for German football, to see the state of the Bundesliga this year. I'm not that impressed by the transfer activity. I mean, to be fair to Bayern, they've only spent 2.3 million. They bought Jonathan Tah from Bayer Leverkusen. They've received 39.95 million. So they're 37.65 million in profit. And they're still that far ahead from the rest. Only in the Bundesliga could Bayern be massively in profit and still way ahead than the rest. It's a shame. How are we going to close the gap to Bayern? I'm not hating on Bayern. Of course, we have a friendship with them. But again, as a German football enthusiast, I really want to see the Bundesliga competitive. I want to see people pushing them. I don't care if it's Leverkusen, Dortmund, RB Leipzig. We want to see an exciting league, especially, again, as a neutral this season. So they're my predictions. Hopefully, you can kind of see where I was going with this. BVB and Bayern just got 50 million from the Club World Cup. Exactly. The gap is widening. I think Dortmund really need to invest some of that money, though. Leipzig will be 7th. I don't rate Werner at all. I don't rate him at all either, sorry. But when he puts on a Leipzig shirt, he kind of comes into his own, doesn't he? So we got a Frankfurt fan thinking they're going to win. Leipzig will lose Simmons. So I missed this, haven't I? I did see, speaking of Manchester United, I saw Seško linked to Manchester United. I think everyone's linked to Manchester United. But if they lose Openda, Simmons, Seško, it's all over. This is presuming they keep hold of those players. Then I would probably switch BVB with RB Leipzig. I'm glad you like the predictions. Not everyone's sold on the Zweite predictions, guys. But I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm really, really, really excited for this new season. I hope you are too. And as I said, it all kicks off on the channel in person on Friday. The first video will come to you guys Saturday morning before that Bochum versus Alversberg game. And then, of course, we're on a roll. 4 weeks in a row. It's going to be busy. And, yeah, I really hope you enjoy the content because it's fun to make. And It's good as well, by the way, before I go, because as you've seen, I'm now a driving instructor. So last year I was working kind of part-time almost whilst training to be a driving instructor. So some of the revenue I made on YouTube had to help me pay the bills, had to contribute to some of the bills, whereas now I'm in full-time employment again. Well, I was full-time employment, but this contributed. All the revenue now can go solely on creating content, traveling Germany, going to games, as opposed to helping pay the bills. So good times ahead, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate your support. Ladies and gents, let's finish with a song. Again, this is one for the Bookemers. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Don't know where this running tap's coming from. There is no better feeling. I'm telling you now, there's no better feeling than being in Block A of the Ruhrstadion and hearing this. Dankeschön. Und auf wieder.